Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhaja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Hari Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Balaji Mai Subhadra Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Srinath Ji Jaya Balamukham Jaya Srinath Ji Jaya Ji Govardhan Srinath Ji Jaya Balamukham Jaya Gaurani Jaya 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 Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivranikacharya Astolra Satyashishimara Divine Grace, founder of ISKCON Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantara Shrimadbhagavatam Ki Their most merciful Lordship Shri Shri Radhakunja Vihari Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Shri Baladev Mai Subhadra Ki Jai Shri Shri Punitai Ki Jai Go Prema All glories to the All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the Lotus feet of Shri Guru Shri Guru. You can find my glasses, they're in my lap.
Hey, how many times a day are you supposed to say your Guru's mantra?
Well, when you wake up, after chanting the mantra for waking up. Then when you enter the temple, or you can even offer respects to the temple itself before you look at that. But normally outside, police don't do that anymore. Then when you enter in the temple room, okay, so that's about it. If you're going to do a puja, I think, no. Okay, when you're offering your food as well, you recite that 3 times. You recite the mantra for food 3 times, but preliminary. And now, to protect the devotee in case his guru falls down, Guru Prabhupada's not falling down. So we chant Srila Prabhupada's pranams also with our Guru's mantras when we're offering food. Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Nayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottama.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudiraye
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Nastaprayashu Bhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistaki.
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistaki.
Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Text 16. Text 16. Ma mamsta
Mamsta
etad
Etad
ascharyam.
Ascharyam.
Mamsta etad ascharyam.
Mamsta Etad Ascharyam.
Sarvascharyamayay
Sarvascharyamayaya.
Chute.
Achyute.
Sarvascharyamayay Chute.
Sarvascharyamayaya Achyute.
Ya
Ya
idam
Idam
mayaya
Mayaya
devya.
Devya.
Ya idam mayaya devya.
Ya Idam Mayaya Devya.
Srijati
Srijati.
avati
Avati.
anti
Anti.
aja.
Aja.
Srijati avati ahanti aja.
Srijati Avati Hanti Aja.
Mamam stahi etarascharya.
Mamamsta Hi Etadascharya.
Sarvascharya chutya chute.
Sarvascharya Achyute.
Ya idam mayaya devya.
Ya Idam Mayaya Devya.
Srijati avati antyaja.
Srijati Avati Hantyaja.
Mamam stahi etadascharya.
Mamamsta Hi Etadascharya.
Sarvascharya chute.
Sarvascharya Achyute.
Ya idam mayaya devya.
Ya Idam Mayaya Devya.
Srijati avati antyaja.
Srijati Avati Hantyaja.
Christian.
Mamamsta Hi Etadascharya.
Mamam stahi etadascharya.
Sarvascharya Achyute.
Sarvascharya chute.
Ya Idam Mayaya Devya.
Mana idam mayaya devya.
Srijati Avati Hantyaja.
Srijati avati hantyaja. Mamam stahi etadascharya. Sarvascharya chute. Ya idam mayaya devya. Srijati avati hantyaja. Mamam stahi etadascharya. Sarvascharya chute. Ya idam mayaya devya. Srijati avati hantyaja. Ma do not. Mamsta
Mamsta.
think.
Think.
He certainly.
Certain.
Etat
Etad.
all these. Ascharyam
Ascharya.
wonderful.
Wonderful.
Sarva
Sarva.
all.
All.
Ascharyamaye
Ascharya
in the all mysterious.
In the all mysterious.
Achyute,
Achyute,
the infallible.
the infallible.
Ya,
Ya,
one who.
one who.
Idam,
Idam,
this creation.
this creation.
Excuse me. Maya,
Maya,
by his energy.
by his energy.
Devya,
Devya,
transcendental.
transcendental.
Srijati,
Srijati,
creates.
creates.
Avati,
Avati,
maintains.
maintains.
Hanti,
Hanti,
annihilates.
annihilates.
Aja,
Aja,
unborn.
unborn.
Mamstahi etarascharya sarvascharya maye chute yaidam maya devya srijati avati hanti aja. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace by Bhaktivedanta Swami Shrimadbhagavatam. O Brahmanas, do not think this to be especially wonderful in the activities of the mysterious and infallible personality of Godhead. By his own transcendental energy, he maintains and annihilates all material things, although he himself is unborn. Please repeat. O Brahmanas,
O Brahmanas,
do not think this to be especially wonderful
do not think this to be especially wonderful
in the activities of the mysterious
in the activities of the mysterious
and infallible personality of Godhead.
and infallible personality of Godhead.
By his own transcendental energy,
By his own transcendental energy,
he maintains and
he
annihilates
creates, maintains, and annihilates
all material things,
all material things,
although he himself is unborn.
although he himself is unborn.
O Brahmins, do not think this to be especially wonderful in the activities of the mysterious and infallible personality of Godhead. By his own transcendental energy, he maintains and annihilates all material things, although he himself is unborn. Purport. By his divine grace, by Charnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The activities of the Lord are always inconceivable to the tiny brain of the living entities. Nothing is impossible for the Supreme Lord, but all his actions are wonderful for us, and thus he's always beyond the range of our conceivable limits. The Lord is the all-powerful, all-perfect personality of Godhead. The Lord is 100% perfect, whereas others, namely Narayan, Brahma, Shiva, the demigods, and all other living beings, possess only different percentages of such perfection. No one is equal to or greater than him. He is unrivaled. Om Gyanatimarandasya Gyanandjana Shalakaya Chakshusumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We're seeing how that this Brahmastra weapon was being sent without the ability to retract it, and yet beyond the realm of what was deemed as impossible or possible. Krishna protected Maharaj Parikshit in the womb of his mother, Uttara. But when I was comparing this the other day to the effects of religion upon the planet now, it's practically irretractable because history has now gone so far beyond what is able to be retracted. And so what is even more so harmful is that because it is irretractable, it's still continuing, and it won't be ended until all these other religions that are in part quote in the Bible, when that which is perfect is come, that which is in part will be done away with. All those writings that they are calling scriptures, they're simply letters by followers. But they're not themselves recorded as the very words coming out of God's mouth, which is where we can truthfully compare the teachings coming out of Sukadeva Goswami's mouth, how many times he is quoting Krishna, speaking the words on that Krishna spoken. Bhagavad Gita is 50% Krishna, 50% Arjuna practically. Although Krishna goes into great length. Probably closer to 75%. Yeah, I think so. And so this can be recognized as that saying that Krishna says he gave at the foundation of the world. And so what we are seeing in comparison, being established by lawmakers, people who have, by man's ideas, constructed governmental functions, then they have created writings that are not exactly true. I mentioned one time about the Constitution saying that all men are created equal and pointing out the fact that they're not equal. But what about created? This is a direct contradiction to what Krishna says, that never has there been a time when we did not exist, which suggests that there's no such thing as the creation of life itself. All life that is has always been. It's not necessarily manifest, but even in its dormant state, it's a state of living peculiar. Now that I think about it, what state? That sleep. All the seeds that are not yet planted in the ground, potential life is there because of the presence of the soul. So these souls are on vacation. They're not doing much for anybody. So they've got themselves into quite a predicament. Will is not being experienced. Nothing, it's just dormancy. So what is the desire? We talk about coma. What about the state the seed is in? And how many times we've been in that state ourselves? So even that, the mysterious travel that the soul is having to make to get to the human body. And here the scripture is saying, it's nothing for Krishna. It's like, just looked at his ordinary activities for him. So, how powerful this makes Krishna, that by request, as a friend, would ask another friend, can you please do this favor for me? And so then how much more now devotees who have, by looking into the past, which is what the scriptures are allowing us to do, with the vision being given to us and wholehearted knowledge, because those people that were intermingling with Krishna, they didn't have the ability to see so many different other conversations going on with Krishna that proved that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And yet, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam lets us see from all these different perspectives. So, it's almost like, who was it, Jai Rishi was able to see as though he were looking into a television screen. Srila Prabhupada says these pastimes that he was reciting, I think it was Sanakarisi, but he's done it to more than one soul, just as he can do to us. He can reveal the universe. We walk outside, Krishna can show us the universe as it is. Somebody's knocking. Yeah, he can show us the universe as it is. And I still have a very strong suspicion that anyone who is sincerely looking to find Krishna in their observance of the universe, he will be there to find. You have to know where to look, though. And so everybody's looking at the stars. But the stars are not where you're going to find Krishna. It's between the print, it's between the birds, it's the behind the scenes that's going on the inner lining of this universe. Which, see, what books are there in the world that give the understanding about the way the universe is? Or what the universe looks like? Is there any? Yeah, even astronomical calculations, they don't give us that. With modern, most advanced telescopes, who's giving this description? So the one who can make such demonstrative statements as that would have to be God himself. So we have to conclude either is or he isn't. So then if he is, we should very well think it wise to follow what he says and to do what he said. If he's going to be the determining factor of whether we live or die or what happens to us after this life, because as he's proving his power and authority over this Brahmastra weapon's ability to destroy life, and that life is so important, this one being, this one person is important for him, important enough for him to personally intercede. So this is, Maharaj Parikshit is that dear to Krishna. And so then what to speak? We can look at our own lives and see all the ways that God has interceded in our lives as well. I know how many times I've come this far from being hit by a car, hit by a truck. And you can be in some place and you can be someplace scheduled to be in some place and not make it. And something bad happens as well. You know, so we see things sometimes as unfortunate that are actually sometimes very fortunate for us to be able to see such things. This warning that we have about, see, for years now there's been this idea and this fear being put into young children's minds about the melting of the ice caps, right? And it is such that it is known that nothing can be done about it, which is why it's such a fear, because human beings can't do anything about it. But it's my belief that it can be slowed, can be made to happen gradually. Prophecies that are spoken, that are actually given by the Supreme Lord, there's no way of stopping them from happening. What Krishna says, Krishna is bound by truth, being truth. When we say we are Satchidananda, eternal truth and bliss. See, this statement being made by Christ, the truth, the life, and the way, it can be taken to mean that he is God, which most Christians do take that to see, or I shouldn't say most, a lot of Christians, because the whole Catholic Church, the Catholic Church accredit Christ with being God himself.
Yeah.
They do, don't they? Because of his ability to overcome death.
Pretty much Mary as well, because, half the prayer of the rosary.
Yeah,
The rosary is about Mary.
right. And see this, if it is true that he's son of Indra, he made himself believe Indra to be God from his own word.
From what he was taught and
From the way he was born. See, these demigods, we are saying, want to take birth here. And here's one such example. That's exactly what happened when they took birth, when Krishna was here. These demigods took birth here from the heavenly planets. That's still going on. It's still going on. Or maybe I should say, it will continue to go on in the future. Because it doesn't look as though anyone has power. You may say someone like, but Elon Musk is not self-realized even. These are not spiritual leaders.
he is the epitome of the mode of passion.
Okay. Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. But he's very persuadable, and he's very knowledgeable of the qualities of people who have faith. He's reverent towards, he has changed, because I've heard him use language towards using God. I would never believe someone who believed in God would use that kind of terminology towards Supreme Person. But, yeah, these souls, see, it looks as though since then, and so prior to that was the Pandavas coming and all those that came down with Krishna from the spiritual realm. They took birth in much the same nature, who were coming with Krishna, but these are self-realized because their realization of where they were coming from was the spiritual world, where their relationship with Krishna was eternal. So there's a difference between someone coming from the heavenly planets, which many came from, and those coming with Krishna directly from the spiritual world, which we are saying the gopis came there from there. Shrimadbhagavatam came from there. But there is a big distinction between those as well. And so, but just to see the effects of one demigod's life upon practically all of humanity, because on the whole earth, we are calling this year 2025. And even though they do hold in reverence in some places different other time eras that we are going through, they generally look at the life of the person they're calling Jesus Christ as the one who is determining what year it is. Do you know of any other? They do. India does have its own, but the world is using different, right, from India. So it's funny that Jai Shishradikam Giviyat Jai Jai. So how is India using its own separate time scale, and what is it used for?
What?
The time, they're calling the year, right? A different year than 2025. Doesn't India have like 3,000? Did they regulate it by Krishna's birth?
Yeah, it's 5,000 something.
5,000 something, right?
Yeah. as per
So, but that is used by the government
no,
operation? Is it
only it's like used in religious or scriptural
Okay.
terms, like in terms of festivals,
Yeah.
they use that.
Okay. So, but it has no present day application other than the application of ritualistic ceremonies towards Krishna. Yeah. Okay. But see, now everyone in the world is adopting this, what they call Gregorian calendar.
Gregorian, yes.
Yeah. Which is based on the life of Christ. And see, as devotees, because Lord Chaitanya is the establisher of the Dharma, it would seem to be more intelligent. The same way for me, it would be more intelligent for us to create a clock based on the sun, rather than a mechanical clock on the way we keep track of time here. But see, if the Earth's axis changes, it will affect the way we keep track of time as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And days won't be getting longer or shorter. It will be constant. Everyone will have 12 hours a day. And then a clock would be accurate. And right now, if our bodies are made in function with the sun, and our clocks are not, in fact, what are our clocks made from themselves? Isn't it? It's like a false ego time clock. Manifestation of false ego. Doesn't give a damn about the sun. It's going to do its own thing. It's a clock, isn't it? Clock will do its own thing no matter who says it's sunrise or sunset. The clock says it's this time. And see, that affects health. It's a very subtle effect. We are having so many subtle effects on the physical body by the normal everyday activities that we take part in. Every day we are exposed to so many little things that we're not aware of that ultimately by 70, 80 years start showing up as big effects as they accumulate. Similarly, on the path of truth, what may seem like a little difference in doctrinal teachings can very well produce a difference at the end of one's life. So this concept of devotional service, I see very unique to Krishna consciousness. I don't see it being promoted, although they will promote some form of activity that seems to suggest the denial of oneself in order to sacrifice something for the benefit of another. They see that as religious activity. Sacrificial acts for the benefit of others is somewhat of a religious act, right? But as far as anything being directly related to God, how can you serve God, right? Because God is in the minds of the believers individually being perceived according to each and every individual's perception and their form of advancement, whereas in Krishna consciousness we have set in stone. Our laws are set in stone. And our vision of God is set in stone, you may say. Stone is as old as the planet itself. So the closest thing to the age of the universe is the planet. Around the closest thing we can come in recognition of anything as old as the universe itself would be the planet itself, even though the planet is not even itself as old as the universe itself is that it got put into. But we can have by reading and understanding the viewpoint of the one who is still situated on the same place where he was situated at the time this whole universal system was put into place. And we can have communion with, through the writings of, and by the absorption of the knowledge and the realization we gain from the absorption of the knowledge, by further queries to the Supreme, who shares this body with us, so that those quiet times we spend in query bring revelations to us in our active times. To the mind, the consciousness gets filled with transcendental knowledge. And it is all from filling the mind with that which was previously established as what transcendence is. But see, why the danger of these false religions is the end effect they have on the participants. So they all, making heaven the goal, will get heaven as the end result. And one will be there for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, with, at best, the hope of being able to return to this planet as a person who remembers their previous life. But that's even rare. So with devotees, they have no hope of heaven. They have no desire for heaven. So by not having the desire, it doesn't force God to give us the desires of our hearts. It doesn't put him in a quandary himself what to do with this person. He knows our eternal relationship with him, which we are being instructed to come to realize. That's what samadhi is. So this process is actually giving us the ability to practice samadhi alive and in an active state. But samadhi means simply fully absorbed in the eternal relationship. Fully absorbed. And it's totally aloof from anything in this world. So even though the body may be acting, using utensils in this world, the consciousness of the participant does not have to be having anything to do with this world. So if you're thinking about Krishna, you're not thinking about anything in this world. You can think about the quality of his body, the quality of his activities, quality of his personality, his ability to withstand anything. Nothing can stop him. And he's overlooking protectively his devotees. So we want to develop that same personal characteristic as well, of protecting. And who do we want to protect? We want to protect all those who have fallen into this hole of birth, death, old age, and disease, the whole, the samsara cycle, that we can't get off this merry-go-round by ourselves. This merry-go-round's got an engine that doesn't require gasoline to run on. And it just keeps on going round and around and around. And it is giving such pleasure to those who are going around and around now. They want more and more of it. They even like to get dizzy. Even drink drinks that will make you dizzy. That they like to take to be dizzy on the merry-go-round of life. One birth after another, after another, after another. Now we have reached the pinnacle, it appears. The pinnacle of the ability for the soul on this planet restricting that to the ones on this planet because we're not at the pinnacle of perfect life. Because our bodies are subject to birth, death, old age, and disease, more so than many kinds of bodies in this universe. But knowing that we're not restricted by the bodies to know life, then we can retain this eternal knowledge and truth beyond the removal of this body. And that's what is real self-realization. Not knowing what my past life was, but knowing what my eternal relationship is. So God didn't create us. Krishna makes that clear in his statement. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these participants in this battle. There was never a time when we didn't exist. And as I analyzed the other day, scientists are saying about Krishna, never was there a time when he did exist. So how contrary it is. And we get a clear view of reality, of the way things are, and then we make a comparison of how it is that people think things are. And we can't help but feel sorry for people who have no hope. And in afterlife, they have no hope that there's anything better than what to see in this world. And that would be disastrous if there was nothing more. But even with that, this we're reading that seems to be impossible, Krishna can make a completely different planet out of this planet. And if I had said this 500 years ago, a lot of people would think that should be insane. That we would be able to get to a destination 100 miles away by taking a seat and moving our foot and just, you have to think I'm crazy. But we're doing that. And then to build the kind of buildings that we're making now, these skyscrapers and everything like that. People would never have believed it possible. So similarly, as past civilizations have been brought to nothing, if the civilization is not brought to the realization of God consciousness, the pinnacles of its manifestation of the false ego will be the crumbling of the nations of the world. Be the crumbling of the nations of the world. False ego's peak of achievement is the loss of everything. Because he can't be brought to understand. It's not by his doing, it's not by our doing that we're going to find the eternal realm. The eternal realm has always been there as well. And so the only means we have of finding it is from the one who's in charge of the eternal realm. But we have to know we're not being misled, because so many people are being the claimants of being in charge. And they're not in charge. So Indra is in charge of the heavenly realm, the heavenly kingdom. But I don't know that he had the opportunity to pass his Leela of Krishna on to his own son. Not made evident that in the Bible, and especially since the fact that Indra himself regards his father as God. I mean, Christ regards God as his father who is ruling heaven. My Father. He teaches his practitioners to pray in this way: Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done, right, in earth as it is in heaven. So what this prayer is saying is that heaven is the supreme dwelling. And he makes it to be that because he has remembrance in comparison of what that realm is, which we also have remembrance of by reading Bhagavatam. We can also see what heaven is like. And we can see what the spiritual world is like and make an honest comparison. And that's what they're not being given. Once you get into Buddhism, once you get into Christianity, once you get into this ism or that ism, or this realm or that realm, or this path or that path, they make themselves very difficult to get out of. Because the same longing every soul has within it is that longing of perfection for the Supreme. And within every soul is an idea of what that perfection is, and its presentation of that when it gets to the state of being able to offer that to the general public, then to many of the general public's eyes, then that becomes their goal as well, their aim, their perfection, their apex. And this is how groups get formed, this is how cliques get made. Some for the better, some for the worse. But we have to be clear in our choosing of which clique, quote unquote, clique we want to belong to.
We're like her.
If we want eternity as the result, if we want to know eternity, if we want entrance into the realm in which there are those who have never left in all eternity, then Krishna consciousness is offering that dwelling. And then we can make a comparison between that dwelling, the activities that are engaged in that dwelling, and the activities being engaged in and looked at as happiness in this realm. Because much the same as we see heavenly pursuits in this realm, enjoyable vacations in the Bahamas, in Hawaii, wherever we think of as the most exotic place to dwell. That's what heaven is, and there's even a little more than that there. Greater, because there's no suffering to the extent that we have here. They drink somaras, which is all they need is food. Food is just for the tasting. So it can be very alluring. And if the things in this world allure us to them, imagine what things we would be allured by from the heavenly realm, which are meant for satisfying those who have engaged in pious activities. So, see, we can't even judge by opulence. As I described earlier, there are even opulences in the lower kingdoms, the lower planetary systems, which exceed the opulence of those in the higher planetary realm called heavens. And some of those who dwell there are satisfied with little in the form of luxurious dwellings. But in the spiritual realm, everything is of an eternal nature. So we can't even imagine what the substance itself is, and it is described as being the same nature as that which we are made of, the knowledge of which produces, the only term in the English language is bliss. It reminds me of this one guy in Ann Arbor. He was a hillbilly, right? They have this southern drawl. Don't you all tell me about some of that there bliss again? He would say like that. I want to hear about that heavenly bliss. And so, see, it's actually what our conversations are supposed to do for us. When we talk about Krishna, when we talk about the eternal realm, it's supposed to actually, in reality, offer to us what it is. Because knowledge of it is the substance of it. And the soul can taste. The soul can taste it. The nature of the words in the spiritual world are that they are the substance of the Son created. So that if you speak something in the spiritual world, you're speaking it into existence. It is the substance of the spoken word. See, we have that in the form of faith. Here, in the material world, we say faith is of that nature. What's the Bible say? Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And this is, as we look at this building, this was once a vibration in somebody's mind. And then in order for it to be brought into existence, it was put into sound. And that sound became commands by the builders, put everything together. But it was mind, consciousness, the power of the mind originally that brought it into its existence. And that's where we come to in service to Krishna. We're coming to our original place where we belong, a real home that has the foundation of truth that has always been there, that we never have to leave to find satisfaction. And that's the real home that we're longing for, that we go out looking for. But we don't know, it is the soul itself that the soul needs to realize itself, which is self-realization, in order to know the nature of God, so that we can become God-realized. This is Krishna consciousness, means God realization, but not that we ever can become God, but by thinking the way God explains that he thinks, the way that he thinks, for the benefit of others. That's why he comes here. He says he comes to do away with the miscreants and to protect the devotees. So that's his. So how do we fight? We fight, we're warriors against evil, but not with material weapons, because the material weapons themselves cannot stop the evil in a man's heart. Even though you can end his life, the evil won't end.
Next up.
The word. This is why the pen is more powerful than the sword. Yeah. Because the mouth, which is the source of the pen, has the ability to bring that soul which is lying in that state of dormancy, you might say dead. They're walking around, they don't know God, they're dead. Just like the seed, dead. Waiting, though, for the spark of life to be ignited, the seed with the rain, the soul with the words of truth that come out of God's own mouth. It gives the soul food and enliven to realize the fire of God within us that burns sinful activities. And no more thoughts. Those thoughts that would otherwise be sinful thoughts are burned by the presence of God, knowledge. And just God's very presence, because to know that what we are means that we know that God is right here with us, sharing this body with us. That's the glory of Krishna consciousness. knowing that God the Almighty is what we chant in recognizing Lord Chaitanya, the one who was establishing this process of singing and dancing in the street is the same one in whom is the power to control this planet and to keep every single planet in its place. That order of the universe is in the self-same body of Lord Chaitanya, who established this and was engaging in these same activities that he wants us to engage in, singing and dancing. And he told us that because he's going to empower the activity of our engaging in with the most power we are able to contain. With all the power we are able to contain. He says, with all of his spiritual potencies. But of course, we are limited to the amount that we are able to contain at the moment. But as we progress, we can contain more and more and more. So bliss, our understanding of what bliss means when we first come, might be this big. But 10 years down the road, it doubles. Then another few years down the road, bliss becomes such an ecstatic experience every day. A blissful experience for the mind to be so full of a satisfying consciousness. Everything is provided for us. Everything is here that we need. Going back to God, to the eternal dwelling. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's everything to hope for, everything to look forward to in the future, to be fulfilled by. We are the most fortunate. But we have to realize it. To realize what this self is, and then thereby be able to come to taste as much as we're able to about what, who, and what the substance of God's sharing his being with us through the consciousness. We can have all about him. It's all what Bhagavatam is. All about thoughts of God. We can fill our hearts with it. And then there'll be nothing else there. So no possibility of sin entering in. Then life is sublime. That's why the saying, chant and be happy. Shah. Any comments, any questions, any realization?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Sure.
Prabhu, today we see like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there was no time neither you nor I exist to Arjuna.
Right.
But like during creation, only first Krishna existing, and from Krishna expansions are coming out.
We were in his body.
In his body.
Yeah. Again, we were in that dormant state.
Yeah. That was.
But we still existed.
What was the question? Because if I can't hear it, they can't.
Sorry. we were in his body. So the question was, still there was a time before this universe was that we weren't in the universe. But we were in God's body. So the same way inside of a male are millions, if not billions, if not trillions, of seeds, of potential human beings. Think about that.
I got you.
And we're supposed to retain those. And I can see no other reason for retaining them other than they're going with us. They're in the same body we are. They're souls. Now, my question is whether the soul in that state also has super soul. And is it able to mature at all consciously while dwelling within the body? Because we see Maharaj Parikshit, Dhruva Maharaj, they heard from Narada Muni when they were in their mother's womb. So there's some advancement there possible. They have to be fed. I really believe it's possible, and this may happen in the future. Children can come out of the womb knowing how to be an engineer.
Like from the month of third month or fourth month of developing embryo, that the child...
Conditioning by hearing. First they have to be taught the language. But see, this gift spoken of in the Bible, called the gift of tongues, that was a gift given by God to people, to his disciples, to be able to communicate with people whose language they didn't know anything about. They didn't know the language, they never studied the language, never been born in the language, nothing. And yet they could communicate in the people's language that were there to hear. So language and communication in the dormant state, God can talk to us in that state of dormancy, no matter what language barriers we are controlled by. So although we may consider ourselves limited to the language we know, it doesn't limit us to the ability God has to be able to portray his concepts in our minds. So, but he went with us to grade school also. He was there with us in kindergarten. He went all through all of it. He knows exactly.
That's why they say, like, a lot of women that carry a child, they'll be singing and teaching them or speaking other languages, and the child, when it comes out, already has that instilled in them.
Yeah, that is it. And that's what's being revealed in the scriptures as well, by advanced souls giving protection to those who need protection by evil, who is trying to keep them, in some cases, from even being born. And so the sound vibration, see, if it's powerful enough, by listening to it simply, to cure ourselves of things that have hindered us from being able to make advancement in the way of experiencing life in completeness, then it can, I believe, do the same thing for the child inside the womb. Because children can be given musical abilities by hearing music inside the womb. So when a mother and father are constantly nagging and arguing, it affects the mind of the child also. I know I'm one such child. When I was very young, it is believed that beer has the ability to give one good digestion. Right. And scientifically it's shown that if you use the liquid from whole wheat that sits for a few hours, it gains the ability to produce feed for healthy bacteria in your intestinal tract. So sometimes parents think that it's fine to give kids a drink of beer. I don't know how old I was, but we have a picture of me drinking a glass of beer in a picnic. But I had dreams that I later came to be found out that are caused by very young children drinking small amounts of alcohol. But boy, I never had a nightmare like this worse in the rest of my whole life, and I will never forget the fear this produces in a child's mind. Everywhere I looked was spiders. They were crawling all over. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. My mother always just having a nightmare. They have no idea what they're doing to their child. And it was the most horrendous experience. I will never forget it. I'm 75 years old. This happened to me when I was probably less than 5 years old. And yet I will never forget it. It was so horrific in the mind of, now, I don't have fear of spiders anymore. but the experience of the fear that it caused, even though I don't. See, this is the effect of harm being done by people in the world that they don't know affect other people, other than their target. You might think you're only bringing harm to one person, but because of the links, and the links, because love, that we are all made of, is what creates the links within us. It is a ripping apart of our being when someone we love leaves, goes away, isn't it? A real ripping apart. And so it's revealing to us that we are all one body. This is what Krishna is bringing us, the awareness. We are all a part of Him. And we won't function totally the way we were meant to be functioning until we surrender our lives to Him and then give ourselves to that energy of His to engage in this process that Lord Chaitanya calls seva, devotional service, which Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. If you do it with loving exchange in your heart, to want to offer Him something nice, fruit, a flower, something to drink, He says, I will accept it. And by that acceptance comes transformation. For not only you, the participant, but the one you're offering, the flower, the fruit, and these living forms that have the ability to become human beings as well, also get the benefit. Got to end class? Continue tomorrow. Any comments, any questions, any realization?
So everything that you spoke on since I got here was what I sent to AJ, video from YouTube of Srila Prabhu, I don't know how to say his last name. The teacher.
Srila Prabhupada.
Say that again?
Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhupada. So I was about to say it right.
So Prabhu is master,
right,
and Pada is feet, and it combined means at whose feet the masters sit. That's who Srila Prabhupada is. Now, my guru, Ravindra Swarup Prabhu, brought to the awareness of devotees that Krishna is in a discussion and he is being asked how it is that the world will come to know of Krishna, the name Krishna. And Krishna says, I'm sending my general. And Srila Prabhupada is the one who brought this chanting of the holy name now that's going around the world. Srila Prabhupada is the one he was speaking of in that position. We can recognize that by the effects that this chanting has had now in the world. And I'm being told over 600 temples we have. I was saying just a short while ago, just a few years ago, 400. Now over 600 temples. So almost anywhere you go in the world, you can go to a Hare Krishna temple and get a Vyala Prasadam. That's amazing.
Each and every city.
Yep, and we're only, since Srila Prabhupada came in 65, moving close to 100 years. But Christianity hasn't done that in 2,000 years plus. Yeah, it's a very powerful movement. And if we go to Europe, we can see also, it gives us a broader view of how effective this movement is in moving people spiritually, and what sacrifice people are willing to make now that they've come to find that Krishna is the truth. Yeah. Amazing. Jai. Shrimadbhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.